further example of why we have to think about the risks of different industries involves a multi-divisional firm, a firm with a number of divisions operating in different industries. Once again, the discount rate that we use to calculate the NPV of a project in a division of the firm must reflect the risks of the industry in which it operates, rather than the overall risk of the firm. One way to do that might be to calculate the beta of firms that are operating wholly within the industry, and use that to estimate a cost of capital based on the capital asset pricing model, which would be appropriate for the risks of that industry. Delta Limited is considering two projects in different divisions. Project 1 is in the mining industry, Project 2 is in the health industry. The beta of firms in the mining industry is 1.8, and the beta of firms in the health industry is 1.2. The internal rate of return for Project 1 is 14%, Project 2 12%. The risk-free rate is 4% and the market risk premium is 6%. We need to use the betas appropriate to each industry to estimate a cost of capital appropriate to the risks of that industry. So we'll use the CAPM equation, incorporating the market risk premium inside the brackets. So the first calculation we need to perform is to calculate the required return, or the cost of capital, appropriate to firms within those two industries. The cost of capital for a firm in the mining industry is 14.8% and the health industry 11.2%. Using these costs of capital as the required rate of return and comparing them with the internal rate of return from each project, would you accept Project 1, Project 2, both, or neither? Because Project 1 has a return of 14% but a required return based on the risks of that industry of 14.8%, we would reject Project 1, but we would accept Project 2 because its return of 12% exceeds the required return of 11.2%. Continuing with the same example, Delta Limited has an overall weighted average cost of capital of 13%. We've already decided that we would reject Project 1 and accept Project 2 using divisional costs of capital. But what will we do if we use the 13% weighted average cost of capital for the entire firm to evaluate these two projects? Comparing the 13% WACC with the internal rates of return, would we accept Project 1, Project 2, both, or neither? Because the rate of return for Project 1 exceeds the WACC of 13%, we would accept Project 1, but we would reject Project 2. In both cases, we would have made the wrong decision if we used the overall weighted average cost of capital for the firm.